Good morning. Just looked at the time. It's 2:51 a.m. on Palm Sunday. And today I'm thinking about quite a few things. I was up all last night going through. I've saved up all this information of from playlists. You know, those are just energy channels. They're there for entertainment, for whatever. They build connections. They reroute information and energy, and ultimately, things can come up in any order, and there's commercials in the middle of everything, and those are kind of units of that in consciousness, and everything means more than what it means, even if it's very plain as day and simple. Like, for instance, a rock, and you're like, look, this rock is just a round rock, and you bust it open, it's got geode in it. Or you find out, oh, well, the geode isn't that big of a geode, but did you know this rock is 70% some rare substance? No, I didn't know that. Yeah, it's worth $1,000. No kidding. So you want the $1,000? Do you want to just throw it back in the ground? Do you want to keep it for the geode just because it's pretty? Like, and so it a healing process is is tricky because when you think of healing, right away I get the image of of bars going up as something charges or recharges. Well, at the same time, the funny thing about when you're charging someone, your energy is getting drained really fast, right? Like, if you have to go very far, then you'll realize you're tired before you get there, before you can make the act and take the action. And um, sorry, a lot of different things going through the mind. So today, for some reason, well, it's Palm Sunday. I'm thinking about charity overall. And charity always begins at home and always begins at the heart. And though because I always have to play the devil's advocate if I'm called upon to give advice or to be a manager of something, then it is required for me to be open-minded and honest and to give options while just in a cell by if I was under somebody else to give the whole like say the CEO is like, okay, you're like the consultant I brought in. And most people would be like, okay, I'll just go hit up I'll just send an email to a text to each of the department managers and be like, submit all this data from your department, of each of your employees, uh, what each person does, how much they get done a day, the cost of the department, blah, 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 all those details. And that's one way to give it a cold look and restructure the place. And that's an important look as any other. Then there's another where you go out and you walk through every fucking department and you have lunch with the manager. And of each, like, depending, like how much time you have, you go and have lunch with each department manager, uh, just all relaxed. And the scary thing is everyone thinks like, man, is this guy my best friend? Or is this guy the guy that's going to fire me? Like, and so they want to suck up at the same time they want to They want to prove that they're a badass, and even at that level of getting to know everybody in the department, whether it's a short term or long term, that's just another aspect. Then there's the aspect of, okay, CEO, like, what is? I'm coming at you first because you're the top knot on this bun. Like, what is this business about? What were your goals? All those people out there, what do you think of them? What do you care about them? What are they here for? Are they here just to support you and pay for your lifestyle? Or is this, are we working together? Is this about the community? Is this about the globe? Um, what is it so special about double-sided tape that makes people come here? Is it the economy that there's nowhere else to work? If so, then so on and so forth. There's 100 ways to look at any problem, any family, any structure. And today I'm called on to go out and do a couple secret missions in the world. Because, like I said, so the devil's advocate in the church, where that is the government since the very first civilization. It has to start with the divine. Without those who awakened, there is no structure in society. There's no protection. There are no goods. There's only death and dismemberment and people taking whatever they want. And that is why the system is balanced on God, apart from and together, which also makes it very tricky because not everybody can connect with that concept. And so then there has to be so many layers and so many checks and balances, and then it gets bloated. But then once you take everyone away, then who's it ran by? A couple guys. And you can't trust a computer with the whole thing. You can't trust a single one person with it, whether it's the Pope or Mother Teresa or Elon Musk or anybody. Nobody really can hold all of that on their own, not with all the tools in the world. And so then it comes down to needing a group of advisors and friends and enemies, but having why there's two parties and everything. And for anything to work, there has to be communication and connection. And the role I've been given in life, before I could ever even fathom, is I wouldn't even say it's the truth teller, because my strength comes from knowing that I don't need anyone, but that's not necessarily a thing. It's not about anyone, and it's not about anyone. It is about what I want, and it's not about what I want because I don't know what I want. And the best things in life just come to you at the right time. Most of the time, it's been when I got fired. Whether it was justified or layoff or whatever, that was always the best time. Or when I got injured and then I was laid up for 2-3 months. Even though I was in pain and suffering, worried about the bills, whatever, that was always the best time of my life, where anything could happen. So ultimately, I want to be a part of a larger scope and connect with a lot of people. And I don't want to have just transactional friends, transactional people Like you just come in, you buy your VCR and you go. And then when your VCR breaks down, then you call and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm bringing it in Thursday and I'll fix it. Oh, I'm so glad, I'm just an old Trekkie and I have every single episode ever, and I run a special channel that just uses only VHS tapes, and I have a Trekkie channel that has all the episodes in order all the way back to 1971 or whatever when it began, and so the VCRs. So like you're my man, I need you. Like I could send it away to get somebody else, but you're the only VCR guy in town, and you know that I have this business and I needed 24 hours a day. If my VCR breaks down, one of my three VCRs breaks down at 3 in the morning, you know that it's probably not enough that I'm gonna wake you up at 3 in the morning for a VCR. Unless this was part of the public service, broadcasting system. But at 8 a.m., you'll be calling me going, yeah, I saw your email. Bring it in. All right, I'll be there in 10 minutes and take care of it. It's great and at the same time, that's exactly what I want, to have that connection and that importance. And don't we all, right? And some paths aren't paved. And even if they are paved, it doesn't mean it's the right course of action, especially for each person, that every person has to walk that same path. Got my tea here. So, I have a little story that I want to tell about the church. But I'm going to do it after I get through these couple cards I pulled of the energy of today that goes along with what I'm saying, of how I've had to push away from the church, even though on my own, I've always been drawn to something with the divine, with God, and nothing in particular about Jesus or any of the disciples or Buddha or any of the specific Hindu deities, or and until over the last year or so, where I've spent a lot of time in every single one of those energies and thought about what that means and the purpose of each of them. But overall, it's about finding one's own divine purpose, what any of us is here for, and what's all that for? Why did it change? Why was it created? Does all that information go together? Why? For what's it good at? And so I've always backpedaled. Well, that's not even true. So I've always, at any drop of a hat, somebody just go to a church, a mosque, a temple. I'm excited to go, like it's Disneyland, like we're going to the Smithsonian. I love the detail, the inspiration, just the holiness of the architecture, of the imagery, of the characters. And I've always felt that that's my house. Like that's my people. That's my shit. I don't know. That's what calls to me. But which one? How do I be a part of that? And all those people that are portrayed, they're all dead. I can't talk to none of them. And there's always just the abbot or the priest or whatever that comes out, and he's like, yeah, we're, and this is, but it's like I'm talking to myself as the lower version of myself on the pedestal, and the connection's missing. I don't know. And so going to group church has never really appeased to me. And I've always felt like each church, well, then the head of the church or whatever is kind of the father of that family. And so then everyone's kind of working for him, and he's picking out people, and it's like another business, even though it's centered around God and that kind of thing. And so then I feel a greater manipulative power in a lot of cases at the church than I would at a business. Where at a business, the boss pretty much, it's almost the opposite, where everybody else gets to be a boss under him, and he's going to take the smallest role and get out of the way, and then put it on everyone else. So, and silence and lack of communication is what destroys relationships and also runs the world. Um, where in most cases, a group or even an individual is just almost looking for someone that they believe in and they trust to be like, all right, so here's what I set up or whatever, and this is what I want built. And, um, you're good at this, you're good at this, you're good at this. Now let's tackle it. And then to do it as a collective thing, like we were building a pyramid. Ideally, in a sense, that's how society wants to run. That's how each family wants to run. And then when we're done, oh, like it's time to eat, and everybody gets together, we all eat together, and okay, it's all done. And now everybody, okay, this couple gets together, and then they go off and they go hide in the bushes, and then, this couple goes over here and spends some time at their house, and then and these get together. The musicians get set off to the side, and they're playing music, and other people just come hang out with them, and it's the whole community, but it's large and small at the same time. Everyone's separate, everyone's together, kind of like a commune or something like that. In a sense, that's the ideal world, but it's too closed and too short-sighted. So the world had to be busted up like it is. It's for it to ever come back together when it was never apart. So today I'm supposed to go out and meet with a couple people. They don't know it, and who knows if I'll be able to get in touch with them. But I'm supposed to. We have to trust the spirit, um, and that's challenging because, like I said, for instance, like words, especially from specific people to specific people, but blasted in front of everyone. Like so and so puts up a notice, and everyone's like wants to Twitter about it or whatever. But the certain person that they're talking to out there that they didn't point out reads that, and instantly it like scans across their eyes, and it means something totally different than it did to anybody else, and they can all talk about this and that, and then the person is they're going to go do something. And if anybody was sitting there watching, the person who wrote it, the what ensued around the twit and the person who read it and what came out of it, even then they'd be like, "What? That didn't go the way I would have figured it'd go. I would have figured that the person who wrote it would have wrote it differently if they wanted that outcome for this person to do this. And instead, they went against themselves and wrote something a certain way. And the other person read it, and everyone else thought, oh, yeah, it's clear as day. And instantly it made that person do the opposite of what everybody would have thought they would have done. And that's how spirit works. I don't know. So today we got the Lovers in reverse. I think the Lovers was the last card I pulled. Well, no, that was last night. Sophie, hi. And that's not a negative thing. See, we're balancing 1, lambda 1, lambda I, or, well, it's mirrored, but Lovers is 6. And one issue that I have, personally, that most people live their life on the opposite of, is that my head's always on the ground. Everybody sees me come in. More often than not, they know about me more than they let on or than I present to them. They have certain preconceived notions or ideas about what they want to do with me. And it's all done in shadow. And all the players play their parts, and shit works out the way it's going to work out. But it usually doesn't work out the way that anybody planned if they planned for something to work a certain way. Unless they secretly wanted to teach everyone a lesson, and then, well, they're not even going to be, in the end, they won't even be able to tell anybody. And it's strange like that. So, and the fear that everyone has is telling anybody what's going on in their life, especially like their family life, or what they plan to do next. Oh, well, we know what he's going to do next. So now we're going to make sure to stop that. Yeah, but those thoughts work against the person that's thinking them, not against the one who said, I'm going to go to the store at 5 o'clock. It takes me 8 minutes to get there. And I'm going to pick up these 4 items. I got $40. And I'm taking this vehicle. Here's a license plate number. And I should be back at this time. Here's the route I'm taking. All right, there's Josh's face. Then everyone can look in and go, oh, okay, well, how can I get in on that or whatever? And then the only things that get in on that is the armadillo that runs right up to me in the middle of the night and looks up at me and just stops in the middle of the road and says, hey. Or the skunk that did that in the middle of the night out at the hotel. Or the fucking angel who just drops down and who's on their knees. And those that are trying to manipulate things don't get anywhere. Or the person that's like, he's going to be going to this place. Hey, I know who's working there right now. It's my sister, and she's a checker. When he comes through, ask him if he's going to church on Sunday. And he'll probably be like, nah, I don't go to church. And then say, well, somebody I know recognized you and thinks that they'd like to talk to you. And if you want to show up, it's at 10:30. And that's all you got to do. Okay. And then Josh comes through, and then he's like, brings things up. He's like, hey, how you doing today? Man, I really like your glasses. Thanks. Nobody ever compliments me for my glasses. But, hey, it's blah, 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 And then bam, then that's where the shit takes a turn and things work out. And so it's fruitful to have someplace to go. And so this Lovers in reverse, see, it's a complicated card because lovers are loving. But the whole concept is kind of blown apart. The Lovers, what does that signify? And why is it a VI? Why are we balancing a mind and a 6? And I guess that brings up the point of how, for instance, you want your video game and you just, oh, here's a perfect one. A friend of mine, his son came over and he's all into magic. And they sit there and talked forever about magic. And I know a lot about Magic the Gathering. And I've had a huge collection, but I sold it off. I played hundreds of hours with my kids and my stepkids that I had. And, I could get on that. And it was an interesting conversation. But the thing is, like, the love that he was holding, it's this obsessive thing that children get, but adults too, where they're like, all of a sudden they get they get a Chevelle and they start working on it. And then they don't have anything to talk to anybody about. But as soon as they're like runs into another person about it, they're just like, oh my God, I got the Holly 4-barrel 6, blah, 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 and it's got the kid on it. And oh, did you see they just came out with it? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, anybody else is like, what the fuck? I don't understand the words you said, but between two gearheads, they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah." But did you know that the fucking Eastern Metal Company, they just came out with a lighter weight one. It's made out of titanium, and you can bore it out bigger, and then get an extra 17 horsepower. And, oh yeah, yeah, no kidding. Hey, that gives me an idea. Why don't we do that? Why don't we outsource? We find somebody that could do that to the manifold or whatever. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And it's that passion that carries along. That's the lovers. And at the same time, that is the what is behind the lovers. Like that's like pure hate. Like there's nobody there, that's just sex in action. Like and I want to be able to carry that light with me everywhere I go, but not just about magic or just about Jesus or just about computers or just about anything. It's about everything. And to be able to carry that wherever I go. And so, like, I'll always, I'll always be a part of tarot and the mystical path. And I've been through and understand the great divine powers and wisdom in all the religions. Ultimately, like I can't side with any particular, but I side with them all. While at the same time, it's tricky because I don't want to give any favoritism to one faction or another. And so I'd almost just love to live in a town where all of them are. And on Monday, uh, we see that's even too structured. If every Monday I'm at the mosque hanging with the Muslims, and then every Tuesday I'm with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and every Wednesday I'm with the Catholics, and every Thursday I'm with the Buddhists, and every Friday I'm with the Hindus, and every Saturday it's my day off because that's the Sabbath, and every Sunday I'm with the Christians, or whatever. And we're like, in a way, that'd be a perfect world for me. Of course. Oh, yeah, it's Saturday. Okay, we'll be the Jews on the Saturday. We'll do the Talmud. Because that's all, but ultimately it doesn't have to do with that. It has to do with people. It has to do with, but then it's so broken because where does God make anyone any money? But then you got Kenneth Copeland. He's got $1 billion and he just get up there and say some stuff that's not near as insightful as things that I say. I hate to say it, but the Spirit just called me to say that. And he's got millions of followers all over, people tuning in to watch him. And he'll just blow God's money right in your fucking face. Did God bless him that way? Is that a lesson? I don't think anything negative about it. It's just an example. So how can I be in a position like that when my message and the things I have to say, plus shit, I don't even use a book because I feel like that gives me too much power. 30-30, that's a good shot. Because I can use that to any advantage, but I don't necessarily want an advantage. I want to help people, and I don't want to corner myself or anyone else into a single way. But I need networking. So if I'm going to be a part of one church, I have to be at least a part of two churches and continue my way in spirituality with tarot, because Jesus wouldn't want anything less. And the way is broken, and everyone needs someone like me. And I need somebody, somebody? That's not what I was going to say, somebody. Somebody like anybody. And sometimes the person that can help you the most doesn't have any more intelligence, anything more than you, and just their energy and spending time with them gives you something that no one else can give you, and that makes them very valuable. So today we're going to be this energy of Page of Cups and the High Priestess in reverse. This is from the masculine, what I call my masculine deck. Now, harnessing the mystic power. No, we're going to be out and about and spending time with people and see where things lead. Because, well, I need a lot of things and I don't need much of anything at all. But I need a purpose. And I can give wisdom from this corner every day. I can, especially to specific individuals. I could do private readings, but I wouldn't want to do private readings through the screen. And if I did, it would be in a Zoom meeting. You would pay for the time, and I would probably even come down to the point where, ideally in a tarot reading, I would want the other person to shuffle the cards and to pull them for their reading while we have the conversation. And so I would have the person through the screen pick, because if I'm reading them, then their energy is what's doing it. I can pull information from myself all day long, but to really bridge the gap, have to be between two. And I would want them to be a full part of the reading, not just, well, I'm an Aquarius, I was born on this day, my name's this, and here's my question. Send. Oh, okay. Pull the reading. Okay. Type. Send. There you go. Thanks for your $60. Now it'd be 120, and we'd probably spend an hour and a half together. It would be an experience, and you'd have a record of it, the video record. And then you could go in later on your own and be like, well, what about the Lovers? Whoa. Let me look up that card. What does that say? And then they can break it down themselves too. At the same time as probably the conversation was all that was needed. And the cards were there to facilitate it. Well, I got a penny to my name right now to start anything. And it's strange being a mentor and a leader without knowing what you're leading, what you're teaching, when any great person would die to have an advisor like me at their side. But it'd have to be a special relationship because they're not first in my world and I'm not second in theirs. So, we're also given today, inverted, this Divine Feminine card, Rita of Casillas, the patroness of impossible causes. Yeah. What's the cause? What's impossible? Well, God's leading. 3551. Sophie wants in on this reading. So, she's an interesting guide. As I am miraculous. My prayers create powerful channels of possibility. But the weird thing is she's like the female ego. Like, don't tell me I can't. I will heal you. I am the magic. So that's why it comes inverted. Because it's beyond we. So all I can do is put one foot in front of the other. I know who doesn't support me, and it's not even like that. I know of the people that are around that I've dealt with in my family and otherwise, that they support me in certain ways and they don't support me in other ways. But when they're by themselves, they have certain very specific beliefs that have to do with how to manage me and what they can get from our relationship and how they can keep me around for the least amount and get the most gain from it. And that's a difficult relationship to have with anybody that's close to you. I mean, unless you're paying me by the hour or something like that. And then it's not a relationship anymore, not the same. So we got the Emperor today, the Temperance today, and this card of pride or of celebration of going through a procession. This, once again, 6, the only two numbers. We get the 6, the Lovers. We get the 6 of Wands. We get the Emperor, which is 4, but it's I and V inverted. And then hell, we even got 14, but we got the X, IV. We got VI, VI, IV, IV, and 1 X in the central card of Temperance. I mean, you couldn't be more balanced than this in a reading of just a tiled floor. And both male and female cards inverted. The High Priestess harnessing magic power and beating the caster. Oh, but it's inverted. What will be? The patroness of impossible causes. No, whatever needs to be done and whatever needs to be there will be there. So it's difficult to lead a family, to lead a community without having a face, without having these conversations. Most people can just check in for their one day a month board meeting and then go around behind the scenes and make their connections with people or send their letters out. And some of it's in the open and some of it's not. And what the person does in their free time, that's separate. Or everybody knows about it. And I'm having to hold the difficult ground. The ground of here. Ladder's everything? What's a ladder? What's everything? Where are we going? What do you need? Where's the connection? Why'd you come here? Why am I here talking to myself instead of in bed with my wife at 3 in the morning? Why don't I have a wife? Why do I have to have money to have a wife? But every woman sent to support me and to lift me up as the greatest man they could have in their life, comparatively to all the other men they have, as the first one that they would cut out, the first one they would abuse, the first one that they would lie, cheat, and steal about and set up for a disadvantage, and to make sure that I don't have any money. And then for men to have a similar thing where, well, you could work here. I mean, it's money. You can do whatever you want with it. Or there's those that want to be more like me because there's something that they feel they're missing, or they have some kind of resentment towards me because it has to do with the ego, But ultimately, I don't give a shit about that. I don't care if I'm the most important person or the least important person. I want to have a purpose. And I do believe I deserve all the money in the world. But money doesn't do much for me. And the same time as, give me $10,000 right now, I can tell you exactly what I'd spend it on. If I had $10,000 right now, unfortunately, I don't know where to go, what to do exactly, as far as how to keep that money recycling. But I would get a car. How expensive? Probably $1,000 car. I would pay my rent, my bills for 3 months. I still have more than $5,000 left over. I'd probably do what I didn't want to do, that I put off, and open a small online business on the side to recycle some money. Probably in motorcycle helmets. Because I have a business, but I never took it off the ground. So I have distributors, Daytona helmets, and a few other motorcycle accessory companies. But that's not really something I want to get into. I don't want to be parted out and doing a bunch of different things that don't go together. I want it all kind of work together. And sure, I could spend all summer and work on making a tarot deck, selling that tarot deck to all my friends and whatever would buy one. But in some way, that gives each person in tarot, I don't know, it's weird when people are reading other people's futures and reading their own, but then they got you right in their palm of their hand. Which is why I kind of like the fact that Maji's deck is so plain and simple. Oh look, God's Ambassador on the bottom. Inverted, huh? It's ironic that every time I pull these cards, I get the same cards. This one popped out. Last video she had, this is what was on the screen. After I mentioned her last night. That when your energy is tied up in something, and especially when you have a connection to each other, it messes things up. To be working through, talking through the screen, or through her using my stuff and my using her stuff, that would be better as partners working on something together than to work separately. Because our energies are both too strong and too connected. We get in each other's way in the spiritual realm. And so we'd have to work together. So that's what I got going on today. And that's the insight I have to give right now. The wisdom for the day. Today was the day that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth in the Ford Theater. Him and JFK. You should look up that conspiracy theory if you got some time. Now that's a proof of something. It's in alignment with how truth is stranger than fiction. And things written in fiction somehow have a way of taking on a life of their own because of how the mind works. If everyone's reading a story, it's make-believe, but everyone in the whole world reads a story, or half the people, then all of a sudden the world starts changing to fit that story, even though it doesn't even exist. And so information's useful and important to share. I'm getting ready to write a letter and maybe go for a 2-mile walk to go get a cup of coffee for something to do at 3, 4 in the morning. And then I think I got church to go to today. At least one. Who knows where we're going? And the position that's waiting for us. Here, there, or anywhere. But I know that there's a plan. There has to be. I've done all the work. And that's all that anyone could ever do, is work on themselves, be transparent, reveal who and what they're about, give as much information, which, for instance, when you apply for a job and you give a resume, shit, none of that stuff. Like, a couple details might mean something, but only really after the person's worked there 2 weeks, or it really has nothing to do with anything. Like, that's why it starts with the letter R. Yeah, this is an experience apart from any experience. Like, fuck, this doesn't say a goddamn thing. You might as well have just handed me, like, okay, you want this job? Yeah. Give me, what book is in your trunk? Let me go see. 4 books in my trunk. Here, take this one. The Tibetan Book of the Dead. Okay, you're hired. Let's check this one out. And that goes further than a fucking resume. So it's an uneasy time out there. Oh, I want to tell a story. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Oh, 48. So this story is about, I swear I may have told this, but probably not. There's a book called The Samurai by Shusaku Endo. Probably not how you pronounce his name, but he's Japanese. And he talks about, I think it's 1400s, 1500s, and how when the world was still expanding, right? And Rome was the seat of the papacy, as it has been for several centuries, many centuries, was trying to expand and get Christianity around the world. Somehow, like, they'd send an emissary or a boat to the emperor of Japan, and Japan was all against outside influences. Shit's running just fine. We don't need your philosophy around here. But it was an unstable period, and ultimately, we think of samurais as these ronins that are fighting and whatever, But the weird thing about that period, that gave definition to the warrior class at the same time as you had a bunch of people with swords, badasses running around, and each one had a different philosophy, like killer monks, like, and some are just thieves, just wanting to see how many people they could beat and stuff like that. And it gave perspective to that. But ultimately, the samurai is the mayor of his village, the elder, but not the oldest, the most well-rounded trained, like the one that had gone to the military and came back, that knows things that the common villagers don't know because they've never read books. So probably the only one that can read and write. And in that frame of reference, the elder of the whole town. But whenever anything goes wrong, like, oh, there's too much rain, and okay, well, here, this is what we do. Gather up this stuff, we'll build a dike or whatever to hold the water back, or this or that, or I think we'll wait another week to start planting, or kind of the overall advisor, but at the same time, the muscle and the brains and the nobody of the entire group. And as soon as the emperor needs somebody, the head of every household, the samurai of every village, okay, guys, pack up my stuff. Well, see you later. There goes the hero of the town. And then they might never come back. And that's the reality of the samurai. In essence, the sword and the fighting, that ain't shit to do with it. That's the worst part. But so, the main character is a samurai. He leaves his village. He goes to Aikido, or I don't know, Edo, Tokyo, and they get sent off on a boat to go to Rome to meet up with the Pope and see what the shit's about. Well, if they dishonor themselves, they got to kill themselves right there and then in front of everybody. Just boom, done. Man, that's harsh. And at the same time, they have to do exactly what they're told to do. How can you be subject to that kind of scrutiny? And anyone could set you up to have to disavow yourself, to make you look disrespectful and dishonorable. And you have to be brave at the same time as you better fucking have your forehead on the goddamn ground. And it's the most difficult place that one could imagine. So these samurai, they're completely different. It's just a motley crew. It seems like they're totally opposite people, and they end up on the boat. But then there's a storm that happens, and then they crash, and they end up in Mexico. And it takes like 6 years for them to travel from like Panama up to a higher part in Mexico to find a boat that'll take them across to Europe. And then they get there. It's been like 10 years. And they meet up in front of the Pope, and the Pope's like, "Wow, like it's such an honor to get to see you. You're a little bit late by like 8 years, but we've been expecting you. I think, yeah, the advisors, yeah, there's record of it. Yeah, we knew you were coming, and since we're here, you know." We want to bestow upon you, like, give you guys Bibles to take back with you, and we want to baptize you, and want you to give yourself to Jesus Christ, and the samurai are like, the fuck, if we do that, we get home, they're gonna kill us and call us heretics. We're just the messengers. We're not supposed to bow down to nobody's God. Fuck, we don't even know what's going on. It might be 20 years before we get another 10 years before we get back home. They don't have any choice. They can't pick up the phone and phone a friend. So they're like, okay, we'll go along with what you say. Then they get back home, and the tide is completely changed. And it wouldn't have mattered whether they were baptized or not. They get back, and because they were defiled by being with outsiders, each of them had to commit seppuku for doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And that is scary. God should never have that kind of power in groups of people. And that's one reason why the church is so broken, why there's so many factions, so many, and all the religions have to stay. And it all works together. Otherwise, there's no other way. And so that's the freedom of individuality. And I just want to end with, it's important to know that if it's all you wanted, you might as well realize you already have it. But in the essence of Jesus Christ coming to someone, if it was all you asked for and it came, then what can you do with it? If that's all you wanted. No, God, just send me an angel. Boom, okay, got an angel. Now what? There's got to be something more. And it can't be as simple as, oh, I saw Jesus. I don't have anything to do with Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Aztecs. I'm just Christian. It's not that simple. I'm so grateful that I was forced and led and chose to be that samurai, to help balance the world, to commit seppuku in front of God and everybody, multiple times, and still uphold the values, the beliefs, the truths, the love, the direction, which wavers on a compass that has all of them without having a direction to go. That's a beautiful place. But I didn't just ask for one thing. I said that I want to die if God doesn't prove that he's real and come to me to reveal what's wrong with everyone and so that I can do something about it. So I didn't want the drug. I didn't just want revenge. I didn't want revenge or vengeance. I didn't just want to die. I didn't just want to show I can do what I want. I didn't just do it to show I could be subservient. It encapsulated all of that, blindfolded. And that's really where each person's true nature exists at. It's as simple as, I'm hungry, I want something to eat. Okay, I'm dead. Game over. Nothing's just. I just want some money so I can do what I want. If you just wanted the money, obviously you didn't want to do anything. So what the fuck are you going to do with it after you get it? If you just need the money only to do one thing, well, there's lots of ways to do that without just. You can go get any job and get the money and then put it on your one thing until you can drop your job. And that's just. But it's limited too. These are the things limited by the ego. It has to be greater. There has to be room for growth here, there, and everywhere. And I believe that signifies this reading of the Lovers in reverse.